Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Imaginary, the 2024 horror movie. So when I saw the trailer for this, I'm like, wow, this is a really good trailer and everything. This is going to be a great movie. Then the reviews came out and people did not like it, and it pretty much just didn't do well at the box office. And so I finally watched it now, and I'm just kind of like, ugh, so much potential just wasted. The main problem with this movie is like it desperately tried to be Annabelle meets the It franchise, and it just did not work. Like, you can even tell there are elements of both movies in there with the whole, like, stuffed teddy bear, Chauncey and everything. Like, you can see him, but he's not really there. He turns his head. There are, like, sheets over his body and everything. Then, of course, there's the whole It thing. Something you see when you're a kid, but you forget when you're an adult. And then, like, it keeps trying to come back and get you, and it draws you back to where you first saw it and everything. There's like this like world it lives in, like a realm and everything that only like certain people can get to. Not only that, but like the whole Deadeye thing, they did copy that. Then the whole like spider-like creature, they copied that. And it's just kind of like, dude, we get it. You love it. But you just copied and pasted and did it in a bad way. Now, the movie was written and directed by Jeff Wadlow. And so I have mixed feelings when it comes to this dude and his like stuff he creates. Like, it kind of explains why it wasn't that good. Like, he's responsible for Kick-Ass 2, and that was just terrible. The first Kick-Ass was, like, awesome. He also is responsible for Bates Motel, and Bates Motel is really good. At least it started off that way. Season 1 will always be my favorite, but it starts to lose its way by season 2. I forget the brother's name. I think it's like Dylan or something, like the blonde-headed brother. It's like they couldn't never think of anything for his character, so they kept shoehorning him into so many different storylines. The way his character just was like all over the place. And after a while, it started to lose its footing and started to lose its way. Then he created the second revival reboot season. Okay, it's like the third revival, but it's like the second season of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Curse of the Shadow. Now, that was awesome, and that was amazing. And that was like the best like one ever. So he did really good with that, But then he created the last season of The Strain. And I told you this before. That was an awesome show. But that last season was just terrible. So he has hits and misses, more misses than he has hits. So when I found out he was the one who created Imaginary, I'm just like, that explains a lot. And the movie is acted like good enough, like the cast do a solid performance. You have the Wanda Wise, who plays that of the stepmother. You have Jessica. You have that of Tom Payne, who plays the father. Which, by the way, okay, I know he's British in real life and everything, and he was on The Walking Dead with an American accent. But you were expecting his two daughters to have a British accent, and they don't. They have an American one. So why wasn't his character just created to be American? What was the point of making him British if, like, it doesn't add nothing to the story? The daughters don't have an accent. It was just one of those things, And he's known for doing an American accent, so why not? You have, like, Tegan Burns, who plays Taylor, the stepdaughter, and you have Piper Braun, who plays Alice. And my God, man, Piper just steals the whole movie with how adorable she is and stuff. So it has those type of horror movie tropes. You have the rebellious teen, you have the adorable little kid, you have the father who just isn't never there, and then you have like, the mom and stuff like that. And the problem with the family I'm having is like, one, the father is barely in the movie, so there's really no point even adding him in the movie. Whatchamacallem, they spent way too long world building, like, the family, especially that of Jessica, the lead. Now, I get it. Your lead has to have some backstory. But my God, they didn't have to spend the entire movie, writing out her backstory in like full detail. We get it. She's a really, really sweet, kind-hearted stepmother. She's like an artist. She writes books, but the thing is, they just constantly kept reminding us she's really nice and really sweet. And like, there's something in her family history, like her mother died. There's like a whole like thing where we see flashbacks of like video and everything of her like growing up, being around her mom, loving her mom and everything. And it just kept going on and on and on. And the problem is her mom, like Jessica's mom, wasn't even crucial to the plot. We just know she died. Like, that's it. So why was there so much emphasis on her mom, but less emphasis on the dad? Because the dad is in like the mental hospital and everything, and he can barely talk and move and all this other stuff. And his eyes are kind of like blinded looking. And we were told that, she went to go live with her grandmother because her dad just went crazy one day. But then we find out why her dad goes crazy. And I do like that one flashback of her dad trying to protect her and everything from this like boogeyman type monster type thing. That was really cool, and I really liked that. And I wish they would have shown more of that. But, why didn't they emphasize more about her relationship with her father instead of placing it on her mother, who's not even existent in like the movie and stuff? We only see like flashbacks and videos. And so I don't really get that. And like I said before, they spend way too long like with the whole Jessica backstory thing and world building her, and not world building the imaginary world and the imaginary creatures, or friends, I should say, imaginary friends, because that was just shoehorned at the end of the movie with the whole, they told us, but they didn't show us, you know what I'm saying? Like, they showed us everything about Jessica's life and everything. But the crucial thing of the movie, the whole imaginary friends, they just like told us everything we need to know about that world and imaginary friends. And it was just kind of like, that's what they should have been showing for the majority of the movie and stuff. And like when it comes to Jessica and that of Taylor, I get it. It's the stepmom and the stepdaughter. They can't get along. The stepdaughter just hates her. But you don't really know why the stepdaughter, the older one, hates her so much. Like, because here's the thing. The family is white and Jessica is black. So part of you is kind of like, well, does she hate her because of her race? Or like, what could it be? But then it turns out that they do have an actual biological mother who the father left and everything. But we don't know much about the biological mother. Now, the best jump scare of the entire movie comes from the biological mother. Like when we see little Alice talking to her imaginary friend, but the imaginary friend turns out to be a real woman inside the house, but you don't really get to see her. You're terrified. Then she jumps out of nowhere and attacks Jessica. And that was terrifying. That had my eyes bugging out. And rarely anything catches me off guard when watching horror. That's one of the reasons why I never really watched it when I started being an adult, because nothing really scared me. And so we don't know why the mom is the way she is. Why is she crazy? Like the stepdaughter, like the oldest one, started texting her, and somehow she broke into the house and just started playing with her younger daughter, but didn't interact with the older daughter. It's like this movie is wishy-washy with the writing and everything. It's like the whole blender thing. They took a bunch of ideas, put it in a blender, and watched the puree come on out. But back to the whole Jessica and Taylor thing, it's like, so we don't really get a real good reason why she hates her other than she's being replaced. Her mom's being replaced and stuff. But she's so nasty and mean to Jessica and hateful towards her. And I mean hateful, to where part of you is kind of like, is it a race thing? Is it not? Because it's just kind of like, especially in the days, times we're living in, it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. It's just, I'm feeling the hate. And so with that, I honestly wish, while I'm glad the Wanda Wise, is a black leading actress in this movie, I kind of wish either the family would have been just one race and not biracial. Because of that huge hatred Taylor has towards her stepmother. Because some people are going to be all like, could it be a racial thing or could it not? You know what I'm saying? And you can clearly tell this is written in modern Hollywood times with strong female leads and the biracial family and the black lead. And the problem with this is now that since the movie did bad, people are going to assume, oh, well, wokeness killed this movie. Because you're going to have some of those people that are just going to be all like, woke, 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 woke. Because, and it's so annoying because they'll be like, well, that's what killed the movie and everything. You got these strong female leads, the two men are pushed to the side, and there's a black leading actress. Because, okay, Jessica is literally made to be one of the most perfect characters there is. She's super nice, she's super sweet, she loves her stepfamily, even though Taylor hates her guts, but she still loves Taylor. When Taylor does wrong, she never shouts her voice at her, and she will talk to her in a stern way, but never an angry way. Even when all the heebie-jeebie stuff is happening, she rarely looks scared or frightened, and she always has a tough look on her face. And even because in the part to get into the imaginary world, you have to literally hurt yourself and feel pain. So she takes scissors and stabs her hand. She doesn't scream, she doesn't flinch, she just takes it like a champ and everything. And it's just kind of like, I would have screamed. And everything. And she's literally made to be that strong female empowerment that nothing phases her. And rarely do you see her show any scared emotion in the movie. You see a little bit towards the end, but not that much. It's mostly she's stone cold the whole movie and everything, or she's really friendly and everything. And so she doesn't really have that much emotional range because she's literally just meant to be tough in the face of adversity and everything. Then you have the husband who leaves, he's in the beginning of the movie, but then he leaves for the rest of the movie, and it's just you don't see him no more. So we don't have a strong male lead. Her father, who was courageous in that flashback that they shown, he's confined to the hospital, and like I said before, much of the backstory is never shown with him. It's mostly just told through the eyes of a daughter who did not understand at the age of 5. And so they had to get rid of like the two guys, and the rest of the movie is female centric. Now you have a male love interest, and I think he's mixed, I believe. And so he, of course, is the like, angry, not really angry male, but kind of like the douchebag male and everything. And so like you're made not to like him. And also you're made not to like Taylor until you're supposed to like Taylor when she comes around and start being nice. And so it's like, it's a female-led movie and stuff. So you're gonna have those people talking about, yeah, well, the movie failed. Well, it's because of wokeness and everything. And like, no, it failed because the writing is terrible. And the direction is terrible. You literally have a writer director who is the same person who has a number of box office bombs and everything. Like that is why the movie did terrible, because it world built in the wrong place. The imaginary friend in the imaginary like world should have been like the main focus of the entirety of the movie and stuff. So I do hate when they do add elements of wokeness in a movie, but they don't get a competent writer and director to help propel that movie to the box office success. And that pisses me off right there, because it's like, if you're gonna go the extra mile to make it woke and everything, make sure you have a good writer and a good director, because when it bombs, then people are gonna blame it on wokeness. And sometimes, because this is made by Blumhouse, and Blumhouse has hits and misses of its own. And sometimes, and I know this is going to sound weird, right? But sometimes, just sometimes, I think Hollywood sabotages its own movies and stuff, just so they don't have to continue with the pattern that they're on. And what is this pattern that they're on right now? The pattern of wokeness, the pattern of DEI, which is diversity, equality, and inclusion. So it's like, okay, Hollywood was used to making everything predominantly white in the past, and now they're like course correcting and making everything diverse. And there's a certain group of men on the internet who don't like that. And so, because of those men and also the incompetency of the writers and directors, things are starting to fail at the box office and on TV. So now they're kind of like, hey, we're stuck in this era of Hollywood. We have to find a way out. And so it's almost making me think that they sabotage things on purpose sometimes, just so they can get out of this era and go back to the old-fashioned way Hollywood used to be. I know it's a stretch, and I know you're going to say, well, why would they waste millions of dollars? Well, studio has millions of dollars to waste, because eventually they make their money back one way or another, or they combine with another studio and get a big payout. These CEOs and everything, and the directors and stuff, some of them still get work and some of them don't. And it just, sometimes I do wonder if they do this crap on purpose. Like, what was it? Spider-Man 3 back in the day and everything was Sam Raimi. Like, he didn't want to add the villains that Marvel made him add. And next thing you know, the movie did not do well because he wasn't passionate about it. And he could have made that movie work with the villains that he was forced to add. But sometimes it makes you wonder, sometimes that he purposely do this just so he wouldn't have to make another movie and everything. I don't know, man, because sometimes like wrestlers will purposely like do something stupid just so they can get out their contract. It's been known, what I'm saying? And actors will too. Like, take Johnny Depp. He did not want to be on 21 Jump Street, the show that made him famous. He wanted to do movies. And he even said that one time he just got so pissed off that he trashed his trailer, hoping that they will fire him and everything. And it worked and stuff. So, and that could have backfired on him big time. The actor who played Chakotay in Star Trek Voyager, the first officer, Robert Bertram, whatever his name is, He did not want to be on the show no more. He tried so desperately to get out his contract that he thought, wait a minute, if I ask for more money, they're sure to fire me like they done people in the past. So he asked for more money and they actually gave it to him so he could stay. So it backfired on him. So sometimes I do wonder if these like studios purposely make like their like diverse movies terrible just so they can get out this era. I don't know, it's a possibility. But basically, the premise of this movie is this family moves back into Jessica's old home that she had when she was a kid and has not been there since because, her dad went crazy and tried to hurt her. That's what we're told, but we find out in actuality, when she was 5 years old, she had an imaginary friend. And her imaginary friend made her go into the imaginary world, which her dad saved her from and everything. And it blinded his eyes from like the dead eyes. God, they copy and pasted that from it. And like he just, went insane and all this other crap and stuff like that. And so her stepdaughter, Alice, she makes an imaginary friend up in the form of a teddy bear named Chauncey and everything. And so she carries the teddy bear around everywhere she goes, and everything seems pretty normal. Until, like, the stuffed animal wants her to start doing some bad things. It wants her to literally hurt herself. So Jessica has to like save her and everything. Now, in actuality, there is no teddy bear. We find out the imaginary friend is literally just that, invisible. And the teddy bear that us viewers and Jessica has been seeing is literally a figment of her imagination from her old childhood friend. I do like that. That is really cool. You know what I'm saying? That was very clever. But the cleverness just doesn't go as far as that because sometimes a little teddy bear will turn into a giant teddy bear with really bad CGI. And so, like, and then there's this black figure of like this monstrous man and everything. And apparently he's like this Spider-Man thingy or something like that. Or a man spider. And so, like, that's part of Jessica's, like, haunted nightmare-ish type thing that she's been drawing and crap like that. So eventually, we find out that the teddy bear is not even really a teddy bear. And we find out through a therapist that she tells Jessica that, like, she's seen a case like this before. Because, see, the thing that's really cool is that there's a really good scene when Alice is with the therapist and it's being recorded. And we see the back of Alice. And we see the teddy bear in front of her. And Alice will talk in her normal voice, and then she'll do like the imaginary friend voice, which is evil. And then we see both characters arguing with each other. And Alice literally talking about like, crying and acting hysterical, turns around and we still hear the voice of the teddy bear. And so this freaks the therapist out and wants to know if Alice is a ventriloquist and everything. And so then that's when we find out there is no teddy bear, right? Now, some of the dialogue is a little funky because after a while, Alice tells some people that if you don't leave me alone, my imaginary friend will eat you and everything. And it's just kind of like, whoa, Alice, when did you start talking like this? Because throughout the entire movie, Alice is as sweet as sugar. But then now all of a sudden, she's starting to talk weird like this. And so, like, the therapist shows her an old video of a little boy who cut his thumb off because his imaginary friend told him. And so it's kind of like, okay, so there's some type of demonic thing going around. Then all of a sudden, here comes the neighbor. And the neighbor gives us the best exposition dump there ever is in a movie. This is where the imaginary friends and the imaginary world is just thrown at us, all with dialogue and everything. Now, there was always something weird about the neighbor who used to babysit Jessica when she was younger. So the older lady is jealous that like her writing is not as good as Jessica. But then she tells Jessica, I was afraid this would happen. Imaginary creatures are real and blah, blah, blah. And, they've kidnapped Alice and blah, blah, blah. It's like, how the heck did this old lady know all this? And then she starts telling Jessica everything Jessica forgot. That Jessica's imaginary friend was actually real. And apparently, Lots of kids have imaginary friends, and then when they grow older, they forget. Sound like it? Yes, it does. And so, like, then the imaginary friend starts to get like angry and jealous and blah 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 and stuff like that. And then somehow, they just wait and wait and wait for you to come back to them and everything. So convenient, right? So the old lady Jessica and Taylor have to go to the imaginary world, and somehow Jessica is able to remember everything now, remember how to get there and all this other stuff. Like literally, they literally make her so perfect in this movie. And so like they go to the imaginary world, and surprise, surprise, the old lady who is played by Betty Buckley and everything, she's evil. Just completely out of nowhere. So they threw this into the movie, and it's just kind of like, why? Why is she evil? Well, you should have gotten the clue in the family, and Taylor and Jessica should have got the clue as well that something was wrong with this woman when she's all like, we're in the imaginary world, we can use our imagination, and it's our oyster, and blah, blah, whatever she said, something like that. And they should have known right then and there something was wrong with her, but Taylor just acts like a teenager and smirks it off and everything. And then the old lady turns evil and she wants to keep them there, blah, blah, blah. But then the imaginary creature eats her and everything. So anyway, after they find Alice, they try to save her. They try to go back through the opening of the door, which you have to paint a blue door on the wall in the real world, and it takes you there. And the only way to cover it up is to paint it black like the father did many years ago and went blind. And so like, she saves the two girls, but she has to sacrifice herself and something else. And then they save her. And then they all get out and they all paint the door black and they all get out of there. As some of them are turning dead-eyed and everything. But then the house starts to burn down. Because like Alice saw the gasoline and she set it on fire to kill the imaginary monster. And so like they're in a hotel and they see a boy talking to his stuffed animal, and they're all like, must be an imaginary creature, let's find another hotel. And then they just leave and the movie just ends, and it's just kind of like, okay. And I'm just kind of like, if the imaginary world burnt down, does that mean all the imaginary creatures are now dead and so is their world? And so why are they scared of this boy talking to his teddy bear? And not only that, but where were all the other kids and adults in the imaginary world? Shouldn't they be there and everything? But all we see is like our protagonists and everything. And they never call the father. He never rushes back to try to see what's going on or try to save his family or nothing like that. And it's also kind of like, shouldn't Jessica try, like, I don't know, alert the whole world or like therapist or something like that, that the imaginary world is like real or something, you know what I'm saying? But of course nobody's gonna believe her, and I don't know. It's just, this movie is just copy and paste of other movies thrown into a blender, and they hope something good will come out of it. But it's just a lackluster, confusing movie that has so much potential. If they just would have focused on one thing. Because the whole imaginary friend turning evil thing, that's been done to death in like television and stuff. And they made it so much better than like this movie. It's not that hard to do. Now wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.